Hello, beautiful homemakers. We're going to do the September chapters of 1,000 Ways to Please a Husband. September with Bettina. Apple tree, crowned with delight. Give me your fruit for a pie, if you will. Crusty I'll make it, and juicy and light. Give me your treasure to mate with my skill. Chapter XLV, which is 45. Ruth makes an apple pie. I'll tell you, Ruth, said Bettina, in answer to some questions. You come home with me now and make an apple pie for our dinner. I'll watch and direct you, and perhaps I can show you what made the crust tough on the one you made at home. Do come. I can't promise you an elaborate dinner tonight, for my funds are very low and I must be careful. But I had planned to make an apple pie myself. Bob is so fond of it that no matter what else we may have, an apple pie dinner is a feast to him. But goodness, Bettina, I might spoil it. No, you wouldn't, and I would show you just what to do. I suspect that you handled the dough too much before, and that was what made the pie seem tough. I suppose I did. I was so anxious to have it well mixed. Did you use your fingers in mixing in the shortening? I know that many good cooks do it, but it really is better to use a knife with the blade flat, and then roll the pastry out just as lightly as possible. Do you make pastry with lard or butter? I usually make it with an equal amount of each. Lard makes a more tender crust than butter, and a whiter crust, but I think butter gives it a better flavor. Bettina and Ruth had reached home by this time, and Bettina brought out the materials for Ruth's pie. I'll give you ice water to moisten the pastry. It isn't necessary, but it is really better in the summertime. And while you're mixing in the shortening with this knife, I'll be cooking some eggs hard for eggs a la goldenrod, which I am going to give you tonight. Eggs a la goldenrod, exclaimed Ruth. How good that does sound! It is a very good luncheon dish, but I find it is also good for dinner when I'm not having meat. I think it looks appetizing, too. I must learn how to make it. You know, Father comes home at noon, and it is hard to think of a variety of luncheon dishes. I usually have eggs or cheese in some form or other, but eggs a la goldenrod are new to me. We also have cottage cheese tonight, said Bettina. I plan to make it about once a week. Ruth, I believe I hear Bob now. Well, he'll have to wait half an hour or more for his dinner. That night they had eggs a la goldenrod, potato cakes, strained honey, cottage cheese, bread, butter, apple pie, and coffee. Some of Bettina's pastry rules. 1. All the materials must be cold. 2. Always roll one way and on one side of the pastry. 3. Shortening should be handled as little as possible. 4. Dough should be mixed with a knife and not touched with the hands. 5. Shortening should be cut in with a knife. 6. Cook pastry in a hot oven, having the greatest heat at the bottom so that it may rise before browning. Crust is done when it slips from the pan. Chapter 46. Bettina makes apple jelly. What have you been doing? Asked Bob as he and Bettina sat down to dinner. Oh, Bob, I've had the nicest day. Mother phoned me this morning that Uncle John had brought her several big baskets of apples from the farm, and that if I cared to come over and help, we would put them up together, and I might have half. Well, we made apple jelly, plum and apple jelly, and raspberry and apple jelly. I had made all these before and knew how good they were, but I learned something new from Mother that has made me feel happy ever since. And so you came home and in your enthusiasm made this fine, dandy peach cobbler for dinner. Bob, that was the very way I took to express my joy. Well, what is this wonderful new apple concoction? Perhaps it isn't new, but it was new to me. It is an apple and mint jelly, and I know it will be just the thing to serve with meat this winter. How did you make it? I hope you are noticing how interested I'm becoming in all the cooking processes. Well, I washed and cut into small pieces 4 pounds of greening apples. Then I washed and chopped fine 1 cup of fresh mint and added it to the apples. I covered the mixture with water and cooked it all till the apples were so tender that they were falling to pieces. I strained it then and used 3/4 of a cup of sugar for each cup of juice. I cooked this till the mixture jellied, and then I added 4 teaspoons of lemon juice and enough green vegetable color paste to give it a delicate color. Isn't that coloring matter injurious? Oh, no, Bob. It's exactly as pure as any vegetable, and it gives things such a pretty color. Why, I use it very often, and I'm sure that more people would try it if they knew how successful it is. It is such fun to experiment with. Of course, I never use anything but the vegetable coloring. Well, go on with the jelly. What next? That's all, I think. I just poured it into glasses, and there it is, waiting for you to help me carry it home from others. Now, Bob, won't that be good next winter with cold roast beef or cold roast veal? I know it'll be just the thing to use with a pork roast. I'm growing very enthusiastic. Sounds fine. But speaking of cooking, this is a mighty good dinner. I like peach cobbler as well as any dessert there is. I'm glad you like it. But I forgot to tell you, Bob, that I'm to have all the apples I can use in the fall. Uncle John has promised them to me. Then Mother says we'll make cider. Won't that be fine? I should say it will. Cider and doughnuts and pumpkin pie makes me long for fall already. But then I like green corn and watermelon and peaches, so I suppose I can wait. That evening Bettina served sliced beef loaf, sautéed potatoes, creamed corn, cinnamon rolls, butter, peach cobbler, and cream. Chapter 47. After a Park Party. A beautiful day, said Bettina at the breakfast table. September is doing better than August. I was just thinking, said Bob, that it might be fun to get Harry and Alice and go out to Kildare Park this evening. I don't believe you've been on a roller coaster this year. It would be fun to go, although I haven't missed the roller coaster. Well, let's ask 'em to go. We can stay there a while and then... Then what? Oh, nothing. Then go home. Bob, you meant to come here afterward and have a nice little lunch, didn't you? I confess that I thought of that, and then I happened to remember that you were going out this afternoon and wouldn't want to bother with any preparations for a party. Going out this afternoon wouldn't worry me at all. It's just that my funds are getting a little low, and I couldn't serve anything expensive. Let me think what I have on hand. Yes, I believe I could do it by serving a salad and a dessert out of my own head. A Bettina salad? That's the very best kind. And what will the dessert be? A Bettina dessert, too. I have some lovely apples, Bob, and I just can't afford anything very expensive. I know this will be good, too, but you mustn't complain if I have sponge cake to eat with it. I should say not, Bettina. Whatever you give us will tickle me, and Alice and Harry are in such a state of blindness that they won't know what they're eating. That evening they had Bettina salad, Boston brown bread sandwiches, Bettina's apples, sponge cake, and coffee. And this is Bettina's salad, 4 portions. 1 cup chopped New York cheese, 12 pimento stuffed olives chopped, 3 sweet pickles chopped very fine, 1/4 cup chopped roasted peanuts, 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/8 teaspoon paprika, 4 tablespoons salad dressing, 4 pieces of lettuce. Put the cheese through the food chopper or grate it. Add the olives chopped, the sweet pickles, peanuts, salt, and paprika. Blend well and form into balls 1 inch in diameter. Arrange several on a lettuce leaf. Serve salad dressing with the salad. Chapter 48. Bettina spills the ink. Where are you, Bettina? called Bob one September evening when Bettina failed to meet him at the door. "Oh, Bettina!" "Here I am, Bob, in the kitchen. I'm so ashamed of myself." "What for?" "My carelessness. I just spilled a whole bottle of ink on this new apron of mine. I had begun to get dinner, and as it was a little early, I sat down for a minute to finish a letter to Polly. Then all at once I thought something was burning and jumped up in such a hurry that I spilled the ink. I ought to have known better than to try to do two things at once. Luckily the dinner was all right, but look at this apron, and it was such a pretty one." "Well, Bettina, I'm always getting ink and auto grease on my clothes, and you seem to keep yours spotless. So it is a surprise to me that it happened. Still, spoiling a new apron may be unfortunate, but I shouldn't call it tragic. Is it really spoiled?" "No, I think I can fix it up so it will be almost as good as new, but it's a nuisance. See, I'm soaking it in this sour milk. I'll leave it here for 4 hours, and then apply some more milk for a while. Then I believe the ink will come out when I rinse it."
"Well, Bettina, I'm glad you didn't spill ink on the dinner. Something smells mighty good."
They had beef balls, gravy, mashed potatoes, Bettina's celery and eggs, cinnamon rolls, butter, and watermelon. Chapter 49. Bettina attends a porch party.
"Well, what have you been doing today?"
asked Bob, after he had finished an account of events at the office. "I've been away all afternoon, Bob, at the loveliest little porch party at Alice's. You know her porch is beautiful anyhow, and her party was very informal. She telephoned to 5 of us this morning and asked us to come over and bring our sewing. The day was so perfect. She served a delicious little luncheon from her tea cart, very simple but so good. And the beauty of it was that she had made everything herself. She didn't tell the girls, but she whispered it to me. Of course, if she had told the others, she would have given herself away. They're a little suspicious of her now because she is seen everywhere with Harry."
"He told me he wished they could announce it right away. He doesn't like to make a secret of it."
"It won't be very long now. You know they are to be married in October or November. But, Bob, as I was telling you, Alice did all the cooking for this party herself. Of course it was simple, but really I think she is quite wonderful. She has never done anything useful before, but she is so clever, and she has such a knack that it will really be easier for her than for Ruth. And Ruth will work twice as hard. Alice says she's going to give other little parties this way and practice on her guests. She says she is determined to do things just as well as anybody else, and now that she's interested, she has a tremendous pride in being a success. You know how high-spirited Alice is. Well, she isn't to be surpassed by anyone in anything she cares to do. Oh, I forgot, Bob. She gave me some cakes to bring to you, and also some salted nuts."
"Hooray for Alice! She's some friend, all right. What else did you have at the party?"
"Such good salad. She gave me the recipe. Well, her menu consisted of Honolulu salad, graham bread sandwiches, frozen apricots, white cake, salted nuts, and coffee." Chapter 50. A dinner cooked in the morning.
"We'll treat Uncle Eric so well that he'll have a good time in spite of himself,"
Bob had said when he had proposed that his gruff old uncle be invited.
"I'll take Saturday afternoon off, and we'll go to the matinee, then we'll come home to dinner, then go again to the theater in the evening."
For a great actor was to be in town, and this was the reason for Uncle Eric's possible visit.
"If only he'll come,"
Bob had added doubtfully. "He'll come," said Bettina confidently, for she felt that she had discovered the soft spot in Uncle Eric's heart. "We'll have a good dinner, too." Bob remembered what she had said about the dinner, and repeated it to himself as they stepped from the streetcar after the matinee.
"It's late, Bettina," he said anxiously. "Will it take you long to get dinner?"
"A very few minutes," answered Bettina. "Just long enough to warm it over."
To warm it over? But then all of Bettina's dinners were good, so he resolved not to worry. Nevertheless, he could not help leaving Uncle Eric for a few minutes to come into the kitchen. What can I do to help?
Not a thing, Bob dear. You see, I had this whole dinner ready this morning, and I have warmed it all up in the oven. I have discovered that croquettes are exactly as good when fried in the morning, and so are veal cutlets. And wait till you try the cauliflower.
I trust you, Bettina, said Bob, laughing. It all looks mighty good to me. Here, I'll help you put it on the table.
For dinner that night, they had veal cutlets, potato croquettes, escalloped cauliflower, baked apples, bread, butter, chocolate ice cream, and white cake. And I have the recipes for potato croquettes and escalloped cauliflower on my website. Chapter 51, A Sunday Dinner. We have gone over home for so many Sunday dinners lately, Bettina had said to her mother, that I want you and Father to come here tomorrow. But Bettina, her mother protested, isn't it too much work for you? And won't you be going to church? I can't go to church tomorrow anyhow, for Bob's Uncle Eric is to be in town all morning. He leaves at noon, and the Dixons have offered us their car to take him for a drive. Don't worry, Mother, I'll have a simple dinner, a roast beef dinner, I believe. I often think that is the very easiest kind. Sunday morning was so beautiful that Bettina could not bear to stay indoors. Accordingly, she set the breakfast table on the porch, even though Uncle Eric protested that it was too far for her to walk back and forth with the golden brown waffles she baked for his especial delight. When he and Bob had eaten 2 batches, Uncle Eric insisted that he could bake them himself for a while. He installed Bettina in her chair at the table and forced waffles upon her until she begged for mercy. "Gracious!" Bettina exclaimed as she heard the honk of the Dixons' automobile at the door. "There are the Dixons all ready, and we have just finished breakfast. Bob, you and Uncle Eric will have to go on without me, for I must get the roast into the oven and do the morning's work."
"Well, I learned today to make waffles," said Uncle Eric.
For dinner that day, Bettina served roast beef, brown gravy, browned potatoes, baked squash, lettuce, French dressing, lemon sherbet, devil's food cake, and coffee. And I have the devil's food cake and icing on my website. Chapter 52, Bob Makes Peanut Fudge.
"I usually complain when it rains. I have that habit, but I must confess that I like a rainy evening at home once in a while," said Bob as he and Bettina sat down at the dinner table. "Dinner on a rainy night always seems so cozy."
"Liver and bacon don't constitute a very elaborate dinner," said Bettina, "but they taste good for a change. And oh, Bob, tonight I want you to try a new recipe I heard of, peanut fudge. It sounds delicious."
"I'm there," said Bob. "I was just thinking it would be a good candy evening. Then, when the candy is done, we'll assemble under the new reading lamp and eat it."
"Yes, it'll be a good way to initiate the reading lamp. Wasn't it dear of Uncle Eric to give it to us? I kept wondering why he was so anxious to know just what I planned to do with the money I won for my nut bread at the fair. I even took him around and pointed out this particular lamp as the thing I had been saving for. And here it arrived the day after he left as a gift to me. It was dear of Uncle Eric. But now what on earth shall I do with my fair money?"
"Don't worry about that, Bettina. Put it in the bank."
"But I'd like to get something as a sort of monument to my luck. Have you any particular needs, Bob?"
"Not a need in the world, except for one more of those fine fruit gems over there."
That night they had for dinner liver and bacon, creamed turnips, fruit gems, applesauce, and tea. I have the fruit gems on my website. We are going to stop there and finish the September recipes in the next video.